Hello. Hello. Hi. Welcome to another video. Surprise, surprise. I have actually come back with another video and it hasn't been a year since my last one. This video is one that I recorded, I think a few months ago. And what can I tell you? I think I just forgot about it. But it is a video that I had been meaning to make for a long time, which is my updated how I make clay pins video. I made one during the height of COVID. I think it was in 2020, and it received a lot more love than I thought it would. I feel like that's usually how videos go. You don't think much of it, and then, hey, hi, it got a lot more love than I thought it would. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of tea, and if you have any questions of things that I miss out in this video, leave it in the comments below and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy watching, and I'll catch you in my next video, which will be a studio/Korea trip vlog. Yeah. Look forward to that. Hope you enjoy. Bye. So the first part of making a clay pin is the sculpting process. I typically use a mix of white and translucent clay. I blend the two together and effectively condition the clay as well while I'm doing this. So once the clay is malleable enough, I get my acrylic rolling pin and roll it out into the thickness or thinness that I want, and clean up any dust or lint pieces with a wet wipe that have stuck on since working on it. And from here you sort of just cut out shapes that you want, and to do this I typically use a clay cutting blade or a hobby knife blade thing that I have. Both of them I have owned for quite a while, but I will link all of the tools that I use in this video in the description box below. In this batch I cut out a variety of different shapes and sizes of clay pins and even earrings that I wanted to make. So here I'm cutting and sculpting out a cottage hen that I've made a couple of times, and I adore this piece. It's really, really cute, and I'm always happy with how they turn out. And here I'm just cutting out some simple rectangular pieces. Usually I treat it as a little mini canvas where I can sort of paint anything that I want on them. So yeah, this is typically my sculpting process. I just keep going until I'm happy with the amount and variety I've made. So I'll leave you for a moment as I sculpt out the rest of my designs. Once I'm happy with the amount that I have, I move them all to a baking tray and put them in my little toaster oven that's specifically for my clay pieces. That being said, you don't need your own separate little oven for this. This is just something that I've had for over a decade when I was living with my parents and the oven didn't work. And because polymer clay is non-toxic, you can just put them into your oven at the setting and temperature according to your clay packaging. And now we move on to the fun part, which is painting them. So usually for this I get a mat out of some sort because it can get quite messy. Some jars of water, your paintbrushes of choice, and of course the actual clay pieces. Here you can see me just sorting all the pieces out and laying them out in a way that makes sense to me, I guess. And from here you can usually just jump straight into painting them. But sometimes if I'm not 100% sure on the designs, I like to take a photo of all the pieces and sketch them out on my iPad. I am someone who likes to really pre-plan out all of my designs beforehand, just so that the actual end result is easy to make. So I use this opportunity to figure out the design itself, any colors that may or may not work, and just play around with some designs I have in mind to see if it translates well onto the pin itself. So if you're not sure on a design or want to know what it looks like before you start painting, I highly recommend you draw the ideas out beforehand. Once you've got all your designs ready, you can finally start painting. And for the paint itself, I like to use acrylic gouache. I used to use Tamiya acrylic paints, but like many other artists, I fell in love with acrylic gouache as the consistency is a lot more smooth and even, which made it quite easy to paint onto a clay surface. So here I'm just painting the initial base layers for all of the clay pieces. I tend to like working in batches, so I'll do batches of the base coat, and I usually need to go in with more than one layer. Typically 2 to 3 depending on how opaque the paint itself is. And once these layers are all dry, then I slowly start going in with the details. Once all the pieces are finished and dried, we now get to the part where they turn into pins. I purchase a large batch of pin backs online for my clay pins, and I usually just attach these with super glue. This part is more to just attach the actual pin back onto the clay pin itself, and later on we'll be able to really reinforce the pin back with UV resin, which will make it super sturdy. So here I'm going in and gluing all the pin backs to the clay pieces, and you can also see me gluing on some magnets to the pieces, as that's also an option. Once that's done, we now get to the final step in making a clay pin, which is the glazing. So here I'm just sticking all of the unglazed pieces into bits of rubber as UV resin, which I will emphasize is highly toxic and not very good for you. It creates a really lovely glossy finish, but because it is so dangerous, you do have to practice a lot of caution, such as wearing gloves so that you don't get it on your skin, and working in a really well ventilated room. Once I have the first coat down, I use a kitchen lighter to get all the air bubbles out and put it under my UV nail lamp to let the resin cure. You can also cure the pieces with sunlight, but because of the unpredictability of the weather sometimes, I just tend to end up using my UV nail lamp. For the first coat, I semi-cure the resin, as I usually go in with another 2 to 3 coats to really get that smooth and glossy shine. Once I'm happy with how it looks, I finish off the piece by curing it under the lamp for about 15 minutes. I work in small batches as I don't like overcrowding the space where the UV light is hitting, just in case that the pieces stick to each other, which would be terrible. It would be soul crushing if you've come this far and the pieces start sticking to each other, but it's a labor of love and time I'm willing to take because the end result is so lovely and each piece always comes out looking so glossy and smooth. So once all of the top parts of the pins are done, I glaze the back the same way, which then reinforces the pin backs we glued on. And then they're done! I'm really happy with my updated methods on how I make my clay pins. I feel like I spent a lot of time researching and perfecting the glazing part especially, and now I get to make really smooth and lovely little friends for people to take home. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!